Ladies and gentlemen, after 3.5 years, the Epic Games versus Apple lawsuit is finally over. There will be no more appeals. There will be no more court dates. There will be no more trials. There will be no more hearings. There will be no more tweets. There will be no more snarky remarks from Tim Sweeney on anyone's timelines. Okay, wait, actually, there will probably still be more snarky remarks from Tim Sweeney, but it is finally over. Just a few days ago, the Supreme Court, the highest possible court in the United States, denied the appeals of both Epic Games and Apple to hear their court case in the Supreme Court, which basically means the court case is finally over. Now, it was 3 years ago in March of 2021, or I think actually no, September of 2021, when the court case was originally decided in the favor of Apple over Epic Games, and everyone kind of realized, oh shoot, it's kind of Jover for Epic Games and for Fortnite Mobile. But over the last 3 years, Epic Games has spent their time fighting Apple in a bunch of different courts, trying to appeal this decision by the first original judge and basically trying to be like, yo, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. Please rehear our case. Please. They're just trolling. We know what we're talking about. And the court case got as high as the Supreme Court again, which if you live outside the United States, they're the big boys. They're the big dogs. If your court goes to the Supreme Court, it's a really important, it's a really big court case. But even they weren't having any of Tim Sweeney's nonsense. And a few days ago, they decided that they weren't going to entertain the court case, and they denied the appeals of both Epic Games and Apple. And at that moment, it was finally over. This means after 3.5 years of a long and very hard fight from both sides of Epic Games and Apple, it is finally over, and it was not a favorable result in terms of Epic Games. Now, there was originally 10 counts or 10 charges that Epic Games brought against Apple, and of those 10 charges, 9 were originally dismissed and saying there was no actual grounds for these charges to be based upon, and so basically no one really won these charges. But since Epic Games was accusing Apple on these and Apple wasn't convicted of these, Apple basically won these charges. So 9 out of these 10 charges originally, Apple won, but there was one of these charges that Epic brought against Apple that Epic did sort of kind of win, but it really has nothing in regards to Fortnite returning back to the iOS App Store. It's just sort of payment processing, and it allows apps to like add this weird little payment button that brings them to the web store, but then Apple still takes like 27% of all payments through this method. It's really weird. It's really confusing. It's like a 50-50 win for Epic and developers and all this stuff, but it has nothing to do with Fortnite returning to the App Store. But I know that's what everyone is wondering right now. Now that the court case is done, now that Epic Games has pretty concretely lost 90% of the things it brought forth in this trial, there's no more appeals, there's no more Supreme Court. Tim Sweeney has done dusted. Tim Sweeney has used all of his reboot cards possible. What does this mean for Fortnite returning to the App Store? It's not good. Now, there's two main reasons that I believe Fortnite Mobile is probably never going to return to the iOS App Store. This doesn't mean that Fortnite Mobile is never returning to iPhones or iPads or the iOS ecosystem as a whole, and I'll touch on that later in today's video. But do I think that Fortnite Mobile is ever going to return to the iOS App Store and allow you to just look up Fortnite and download it like you used to? No. And there's a few particular reasons. Now, the first one is originally after Epic Games received their verdict in court and they found out that they pretty overwhelmingly lost against Apple, Tim Sweeney actually, I think, emailed someone at Apple and was like, hey, and this is the email where basically Tim Sweeney is asking if they can get Fortnite back on the App Store. Tim Sweeney says, Epic has asked Apple to reactivate our Fortnite development account. Epic promises that it will adhere to Apple's guidelines wherever we release products on Apple platforms. If we get the account back, we'll bring Fortnite back to Mac as soon as possible, and we'll reincorporate Fortnite for iOS in our Unreal Engine development and testing process, which will benefit all of our mutual developers. But he adds this cheeky little bit at the bottom saying Epic will resubmit Fortnite to the App Store if you adhere to the plain language of the court order and allow apps to include buttons and external links that direct customers to other purchasing mechanisms without onerous terms or impediments to a good user experience. In that case, a remaining dispute will be about competing stores, and I genuinely believe we could find common ground on the topic if Apple's position were based solely on user security and privacy rather than commercial interest. Basically, he told Epic, Tim Sweeney emailed Apple saying, yo, I really want the game to return back to the iOS App Store, but only if you guys abide by the court rules, which at this point in time, I don't think the court was actually forcing Apple to put in place the rulings that had been decided. And also, I think he was asking them to do something the court hadn't even forced on them, which was adding the buttons that allowed people to be sent to external payment processing methods, which is the whole reason this thing was started. And even then, to this date, Apple is going to have to allow this, but they're still going to be taking like 27% of the profit, which I don't think Tim Sweeney would even agree with in the first place. But then in response to that, they got sent this email from a legal department that basically said, nah fam, not happening. You are getting blacklisted until the district court's judgment becomes final and non-appealable, which I guess is now. Since they can't appeal any more decisions, the Court of Appeals is exhausted. I guess in theory, now is the time that Epic Games could reapply for the developer account to be reinstated, and Fortnite could go back on the App Store, but it would be all for nothing. Tim Sweeney would only be able to get Fortnite back on the iOS App Store if he would agree to the App Store terms, if I'm understanding this correctly, of either A, including the button that he is originally requesting in this email to be added, but even if this button was added that allows users to be directed to, let's say, epicgames.com to purchase V-Bucks, Epic Games would still have to pay a 27% tax on any profits generated, which means they spent 4 years of their lives, or 3.5 years, like $100 million in legal fees, just so they could make 3% extra profit off of Fortnite Mobile through this feature. Or they'd only be able to get Fortnite Mobile back on the App Store if they just uploaded Fortnite Mobile without any differences, no payment processing features, and it basically would have done all this for nothing. So based off how petty and just stubborn Tim Sweeney has been about this entire lawsuit, I just don't think that's a possibility that Tim Sweeney would say, you know what, I just spent 3.5 years of my life, maybe $100 million of legal fees. You know what, I'm gonna not care about this at all, give Fortnite back up on the App Store and act like none of this happened and give Apple the wholehearted win. On top of that, Apple is rubbing Epic Games' face in this lawsuit even more, because just a few days ago, Apple requested that Epic Game pay $73 million in legal fees over this court case, because I think somewhere along the lines, Epic Games said that if they lose this lawsuit, then they would pay Apple's legal fees. That's what I read, and that's absolutely insane. And because Apple's legal fees were $84 million, and because Epic Games lost 90% of the court case, Apple is requesting that they pay 90% of those legal fees, or $73 million, and that's mind-boggling. So not only is Epic Games probably out anywhere from 50 to 100 million of their own legal dollars, now they might have to pay 73 million of Apple's legal dollars, so they might be upwards of $150 million of legal fees in the hole. Still, they probably won't put Fortnite Mobile back on the App Store, because if Tim Sweeney agreed to put Fortnite back on the App Store, given everything that's happened, I think that would just completely stand against everything Tim Sweeney has been fighting for. And so that's where things currently stand right here, right now. To this day, what we know regarding Fortnite coming back to the App Store, it's just probably not happening. Given what we know about Epic Games and Apple's relationship, given what we know about Tim Sweeney's and Apple's relationship, they're probably just not going to come together to work this out. It's also, I think, within Apple's right to still block them from returning to the App Store unless Epic Games like fully agrees to working with them. But all that to be said, if you guys have been following the channel, been following the saga, you will know there is one little light at the end of the tunnel, and that is the, I believe, Digital Marketing Act that the European Union will be putting into place on March 7th that will be legally binding Apple to require to allow iPhones and iPads within the European Union to allow sideloading for the first time ever. And sideloading, if you don't know, it basically just means you can install an application even if it's not on the iOS App Store. So knowing this, Tim Sweeney might not even care if Fortnite's not going to come back on the App Store, because he might be planning to release the Fortnite version on iOS through sideloading, just as they currently have been doing over the last few years on Android, because the only way throughout this whole lawsuit with Google, the only way you've been able to download Fortnite on Android is through sideloading. So they know about sideloading, they love sideloading, and so my theory is Fortnite doesn't come back to the iOS App Store, but through this Digital Marketing Act, the DMA Act of the European Union, Tim Sweeney has been cooking up an Epic Games store for iOS users to be able to sideload and to get Fortnite on iOS devices through sideloading come March 7th, or hopefully shortly thereafter, because that makes a whole lot more sense to me. If they allow sideloading, I still think they might have to pay that tax, even if an app is sideloaded, but still, it wouldn't be on the App Store. They would have much more freedom over what they actually put inside of the application, to my understanding of how that works. So there is still hope that Fortnite will return to iOS devices one day. And even if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't live in the European Union, I don't live in EU, I don't live in London, I don't live in Germany, I don't live over the overseas, don't worry. Still pretty hopeful that if it comes out in EU, there will be methods, there will be ways to get around the region lock of this, that you'll be able to download the IPA, you'll be able to download the file. There will be ways, I'm assuming, to play Fortnite on iOS outside of the European Union. As long as they support that method and support sideloading, then I don't think we have too much to be worried about. But I will say, if March 7th comes and goes, and we go March 7th, and then April 7th, and then May 7th, and if we go months and months without hearing a peep out of Tim Sweeney regarding Fortnite returning to iOS, I will be incredibly frustrated, because throughout this entire time, Tim Sweeney has sort of portrayed or marketed this as a campaign for the people. This has been a lawsuit for the people. This has been a lawsuit for the gamers. This has been something he has been fighting on behalf of the gamers, for the players, for the consumers. But over here, as a consumer of Fortnite Mobile, we have never felt more worse off, more left behind, more forgotten about, more ignored than ever before. And I speak for everyone in terms of the Fortnite Mobile community, casual and competitive, when I say that, holy crap, do we feel ignored right about now. No communication, no tournaments, no collaboration, no content whatsoever. And so I'm really hoping that Tim Sweeney's big brain has been cooking up something, and that he's just purposefully been ignoring all of us, and that come March 7th, or slightly before or slightly after, we will get some news regarding Fortnite Mobile, because it has been an incredibly long 3.5 years. It has been an incredibly frustrating 3.5 years, especially someone who's been covering this, and someone who's been reporting on this, and someone who's been left in the dark on all this. I'm very happy it's over. I'm thankful that I never have to make a stupid, another one of these court case videos ever again, but I'm gonna be really pissed off if all this was for nothing, if I waited 3.5 years and all this was just for Tim Sweeney to go, yeah, GG's boys, Fortnite Mobile, it's wraps. So that's where things stand. There's still, sadly, a lot of speculation, because it seems like Fortnite Mobile, again, no one cares about us. But who knows? Maybe it comes back, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I'm waiting for Warzone Mobile, a game that's actually coming out and is actually real and exists and is supported by developers. Valor Mobile looks pretty sick. That game is hopefully going to come out. 2024 is a lot of cool, real mobile games that are coming out and aren't involved in $1 million lawsuits. So that's really awesome. So regardless if Fortnite Mobile ever sees the light of day again, I'm going to continue on being a mobile gamer. But I really hope I can play Fortnite Mobile on iOS natively in 2024. But I'm so very happy I never have to make another one of these lawsuit videos ever again. But if you guys are stuck with me to the very end of this lawsuit, thank you guys. It has been a pleasure being a news reporter for this absolutely insane time period, and I hope to never do it again. And until the next time, until the next major lawsuit happens, it's been your boy DuckyTheGamer, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.